Hello, listeners, and welcome back to this new episode. Today, I want to talk about the benefits of not taking things personally. And I honestly believe that this is a skill, first of all, that you can learn, but it is also a leadership superpower. And I just want you to take a minute and think about how much time and energy do you waste or do you spend worrying about what other people think? Or have you ever received feedback, even a remark or a look that sent you into some kind of spiral, even though it wasn't actually about you? Those are often situations that illustrate that we're taking something personally. I really strongly, truly deep down believe that not taking things personally will change your life, and it will open up and accelerate your career and your leadership abilities when you learn not to take things personally. So I want to talk a little bit about what exactly do I mean by taking things personally. I'm going to tell you a story also of something that happened to me in my personal life. And we'll also talk about the benefits of not taking things personally. And I'll give you two, I would say, brain hacks or two ways, very simple strategies that I use, that I have used forever to help me in learning this skill. So, firstly, what does it mean to take things personally? For me, it means interpreting some external event. So that could be somebody said something. It could be feedback. It could be criticism. It could be something the way that somebody looked at you. When you see and you interpret an external event as a direct reflection of your worth, your ability, your character, that's what I mean by taking things personally. It often leads to feelings of self-doubt, defensiveness, emotional distress. It's like we are causing our own stress. And in most cases, the situation isn't even about you. So taking things personally, it happens when you assume that somebody else's criticism or even neutral feedback is an attack on who you are, rather than a comment on a specific behavior or a situation. Taking things personally happens when you read too much into what a colleague said or their facial expression or what they didn't say. Also, if you don't get feedback. Taking things personally happens when you also take responsibility for other people's moods, assuming that you are the cause of their being in a crappy mood today, or they got upset at something and you assume that it's because of you. And it happens also when you replay conversations in your head, analyzing what you said, worrying about how it was perceived. All of that at the core, taking things personally, is simply a sign of self-doubt or a desire for external validation. And that was my case for a very long time. I took things very personally. But the shift happens when you realize that actually most people's reactions are not about you. It has more to do with them, how they see the world, how they perceive things, their stress, their insecurities. So I want to start off with a story. And this is actually a story that it was a very emotional moment in my career, but very difficult and tough moment in my career. So I had taken on a new job. It was a very big job. And I was selling marketing research, so marketing services to companies. And I had worked really hard to win a new client and a new contract. I'd spent a lot of time getting to know the client, getting to know their needs. It was a subject that was extremely confidential, so very touchy and a topic I knew nothing about. So I spent time also getting to know the subject. It was also a client and a potential contract with high internal visibility because it was a client that we'd been pursuing for a very long time. It would mean actually quite a bit of money. So there was a lot of stakes for me personally because it was a big win in a new job, high visibility, more money. It could help increase the profit. So we ended up winning the contract. We built a dream team to work on it. It was a very big international project. So we were working in multi-time zones and had different skill set. So built a dream team. The solution that we offered the client was also bespoke. So specifically for them, it wasn't a cookie cutter solution. And so we spent several months setting up the project. It was very big, multi-country, because it was a very confidential topic. There were some legalities we had to manage in the different countries. Yes, there were bumps, but we set it up, we executed it, and then we presented the results. I was heavily involved for all of the process, managing the client, but also in presenting the results. So it was 9 months of work. It was 9 months of very intensive work. And I had poured my heart and soul into that client. Because for me, there were so many stakes. I wanted to prove myself in my new job. I wanted to prove that I could sell something so big. I wanted to prove to myself and my company and my team that we could manage something like that. And so I was involved in the selling, the execution, and the delivery. So after 9 months, we had presented kind of like the first round. And it was meant to be an ongoing project. And at that point in time, we were sending out customer satisfaction surveys. And I think probably most people know now, customer satisfaction survey, we ask for an overall rating of 1 to 10, where 10 is excellent and 1 is poor. The client gave us a 1. Yes, you heard that right. After all of this effort, after we had successfully presented, after they had gotten kudos internally for the project and what had been done, the client gave us a 1. And I still remember that day when I saw that 1 come in, because all of the satisfaction scores would come into my inbox. I was devastated. I made it about me. I made that 1 mean that I was a bad leader. I was a bad salesperson. I was a bad manager. I didn't know how to work with clients. I made that 1 about me and my worth and my capabilities. And I was sure I was going to get fired. And I can still remember, it was such an emotional moment for me. I can still remember that sobbing. I was sobbing in my boss's office. I can still picture the scene. I can still picture her office, and I was sobbing. And my boss was fantastic. She helped me step back, see the bigger picture, look at the situation objectively, and also help me see the client's perspective. And yes, his perspective, he had things to say. And we went on. So I'm not saying that happened overnight, but after I digested it and taken a step back and realized that it wasn't about me, we went on to work with that client very successfully for years. And the reason why I'm telling you this story is I could have gotten caught up in that made me such a bad person, such a bad professional, such a bad leader. And I learned from that event not to take things personally. And over the years, yes, it is a skill that I learned. It is a game changer when you don't take things personally. Here's why. Okay, I'm going to give you probably 5 reasons why it is a game changer not to make something like that, something that happens, not make it about you. When you stop personalizing that feedback, the first thing is you stop carrying an emotional weight that isn't yours to bear. So maybe to put it a different way is you're causing your own stress when you make things about yourself. And when you're not making it about yourself, it allows you to stay calm and focused and in control. The second point is when you don't take things personally, you can respond objectively, rationally, and not reactively. How many times have you received an email and you wanted to immediately respond either in anger or defensiveness, you wanted to over-explain, or you wanted to shut down, which is another common reaction is we just ignore. And when you can detach yourself from the situation and you're not making it mean anything about you or your capability, you can look at situations objectively and respond with intention rather than emotion. Because once we put emotion in it, it gets very difficult to control or to course correct. So that's the second point. The third point is not taking things personally. It helps you recognize that I think you become more empathetic towards others because you realize that other people's reactions, it's about them. It's not about you. Other people's reactions have their own struggles. It's a reflection of their struggles, of their stress, of how they view the world. And so when you don't internalize what other people say or how they react, then you stop spiraling into self-doubt. And I feel that we can look at other people with much more empathy because we all have our own struggles and we're all human. I also think when you don't take things personally, that you strengthen your confidence and you exude confidence also because you are in your own path. How many times do you hear that? Stay in your own lane. Okay, don't get pulled into the lane on the left or the lane on the right. Stay in your lane, stay true to your ideas, focus, and that resilience is absolutely going to serve you because you can get pulled off track daily and even hourly. So it strengthens your confidence if you don't get sucked in, and it makes you definitely more effective in your role. And I think it just strengthens professional relationships because we work with people all day long. We are solving problems. That's what I think working is in general. It's figuring out solutions to problems. And we have to do that collaboratively. And things can get so tense when you start to take things personally. There are unnecessary conflicts. You start interpreting things. And I just assume that what people say or do, they're saying something because they want to find a solution. They want to make things better. And maybe they're just, Maybe they're just awkward in how they say something. But I don't assume that they are being negative towards me. Conversations become more constructive and relationships improve. So I do want to give you 2 ways that you can also think about things. The first one is what I call the water on a duck. So when people say things or do things or don't say things, I just see it as sliding off of me, just like water on a duck's back. Maybe a client is upset for some reason. Okay, I don't take it personally. I just let it slide off, and that allows me to look at things objectively. The same thing, if you think about your personal relationships at home, maybe your husband or your girlfriend or your kids said something. I never make it mean anything that I'm a bad mom, that I'm a bad wife. It's water on a duck. The other way, and this I would say is in very high stress situations, I visually go into them thinking that I have a force field around me. So for example, if I'm going to do something or I have to say something that is very uncomfortable to me and that maybe somebody is going to react, of course I'm going to do it with empathy, but I see that there's a force field around me, a visual field, kind of like Star Wars. You know, there's these force fields that protect yourself and that protect bases and that protect, I don't know, flying ships and spaceships or whatever. Having a force field also gives me visual strength if a conversation could get tricky or you have to say something and somebody's going to be upset. So those are just two ways that I think about it, because just keep in mind, not everybody is going to like you. Not everybody is going to agree with you. And simply put, that's life. And not taking things personally is an absolute game changer at work. You free yourself from unnecessary stress. You respond with confidence instead of self-doubt. You stop letting other people's moods, opinions, offhand comments dictate how you feel about yourself. And it's not about ignoring feedback or being indifferent. It's about owning your power and deciding how to respond objectively and not emotionally. And so next time that you find yourself spiraling over an email, a meeting, or a conversation, simply ask yourself, is this really about me, or am I making it about me? Because most of the time, it's not about you. And when you stop personalizing everything, that is when you lead with confidence. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you soon.